Hey, this is another Shop Talk episode, and this time we're going to be talking about poker runs. Alright, so in this episode of Shop Talk, I wanted to talk about poker runs and the importance of them. And a lot of people don't really usually talk about them and how they plan them and so forth. And at the time when I was looking for poker runs or ideas and how to do it, I was trying to figure out how to put it all together. So this is kind of like my basic layout. I actually made an index. My poker runs are typically a 12-month ordeal. Basically kind of want to go through that with you guys. If you have an association or a riding club or a motorcycle club or whatever club, there's a lot of preparation that's involved so you can actually have a great run. Whatever that run might be. It could be with dice, it could be with poker chips, it could be with poker cards, it could be with whatever. There's many ways to do this, but the biggest thing is to have a committee. With your committee, you're hopefully going to pick volunteers that are willing to put their time and effort into doing this. Sometimes it falls on one person or two people. Hopefully those guys you have working with you will be for the long haul. If you start it early, typically I like to start a poker run idea 12 months in advance, right? And the reason why is because you got to figure out if you're going to be doing a raffle, if you're going to be doing some kind of door prizes, some kind of giveaway. It could either be money, it could be a bike, it could be whatever it might be. But you have to get those things in place and start advertising early to kind of get the hype up. So I have my breakout, and we'll just go by month. So typically the objective is, what is your objective? Is it to collect money for your organization? Is it to collect toys for a toy run? That you got to figure out what that is. For the group that I ride with, it's funds or donations, and then we give those donations back out to the veteran community in Oklahoma's area. So first thing is you got to get your volunteers figured out. You need a head of a committee, and that person typically will kind of keep things wrangled in and by month and trying to figure out what things are going on, right? Typically when I ran a poker run, I would put out a sit rep once a week. It might not change that much, but it's keeping people involved that you have in your committee to continually find donations or door prizes or whatever that needs to be achieved. So in the first month, basically you need to figure out your head of committee, possibly if you have an operation chair, maybe a sponsor chair, some person who's going to get sponsors, and prize gift chair, right? You want people to help out to find other people to get gifts and so forth. If you're in an association that has a sanctioned event, then you want to see, okay, is it going to be sanctioned, right? If it's a sanctioned event for an organization, sometimes out-of-state riders will come in just because of that alone. Next thing you got to figure out, even if it's 12 months in advance, is what date is probably going to work best. We did a bug run this year, and we do it always in August. Yes, it's a little hotter, but we try to do it at night, more bugs, and it works out really well in the August timeframe. And then you need to figure out in this first month, what kind of run do you want to do? It can change, all this can change, but in the first month, you want to figure out, do you want to be a poker run? Do you want to be a poker chip run, a dice run, a mystery run, alphabet run? Whatever run it might be, you want to kind of figure out what basically what you kind of want to put into your flyer, because that's what's coming up next, right? You got to start building a flyer to hand out, to do advertising. Maybe you have a PRO person who does public relations, and they can start figuring out how they're going to do their flyer, right? Because people want to be interested to go to your event more than others. All right, so that's about the first month. You're trying to figure out what kind of run you're wanting to do and what run that might be. So I usually have a book, and that book stays with me or the chair, and I use that to design my run, I guess, if you want to call it that. And I go to a lot of other people's runs too to figure out what run seems to be successful, what I thought about their run, how it ran, how the organization worked. Was it smooth? Was the ride good? Was the ride plan good? Etc., etc. So some ideas for some games that you could play. And these are just simple games, right? You could do a poker run where you have 5 stops, and each stop a person will pick up a card, and the best hand or low hand, high hand wins a prize. It could be money, cash, whatever it is, right? Another way to do it, we've done in the past, is to do a silent poker run where they just get a card in an envelope, and at the end of the ride, you open up that envelope, and whoever has the best hand, high hand, low hand, works also. The reasoning behind that style is that it eliminates people cheating. And not to say people cheat during poker runs, but that does happen. The next thing is you can have a poker chip run where the poker chip, each stop, the person can pick up a poker chip, and they pick, like, say, 3 poker chips out of a bag, and each of those chips has a value to it. And at the very end of the ride, whoever has the most chips, number-wise, and lowest chip, you could do a high chip, low chip winner, and that's what typically we do. That could be a nominal number for the chip. So, for example, a white chip could be 1, a blue chip could be 8, and a red chip can be 11. Even if you have 150 riders, the odds of someone having the same number is pretty minimal. And if it is, you can do a chip off at the very end of it. Another ride could be a dice run. We've done dice runs where, the best dice roll wins at the very end. So these are just some ideas. Another idea that was really great that I've seen is where each stop was an event. So one stop was a paintball event, where you had to take a paintball gun, and then whoever got close, you had 3 shots, and each of the rings were a nominal number. And then the next one was you stopped and you did like an axe throw. And same thing, each ring was a number so if you got 3 bullseyes, they were worth like $5 a piece. So that could be something really interesting where you keep people really involved. Remember, sometimes when doing these runs, people are drinking, so there's that. But all in all, you can do it. You can break it up however you guys want to do it, and it's just to keep people involved with the run. And the other biggest thing is you want to make sure that people want to come back the next year and the next year and the following year, and it goes bigger and bigger. That's the whole idea, right? One last one that might be a really fun ride to do is maybe a bingo. Everyone gets a bingo card, and at each stop they get 5 letters, and maybe you can break that up where the bingo numbers, each stop has certain bingo numbers. So that's another idea. Anyway, so that's all. That's some ideas for a run, basically like a poker chip run or poker card run. Just try to make it interesting. So our last run, we did a bug run where the person got a sticker, they put it on their bike, and whoever had the closest to the bullseye with a bug in it, they got a prize. And then we also did the poker chip part of it also in the same run where people, when they stopped, they picked 3 poker chips. And again, those poker chips had a nominal number or value to them. And at the end, they handed in their card, and then whoever had the highest number for the poker chips and the lowest number got a high chip, low chip cash award. Another thing that we kind of do and add there is add some trophies, and those trophies really help out also. So it kind of just makes it fun. You get a lot of things happening, just trying to get the excitement to happen, a lot of laughs, a lot of camaraderie, riding, and so forth. All right, so month 2, again, you're just meeting with the committee again, following up with your members, and making sure everyone has some duties that they're working on. The biggest thing on month 2, you want to try to figure out what your main giveaway might be. Are you doing a raffle? So, for example, I'm going to use a bug run of last year. I had worked with Indian of Oklahoma City, and we worked a deal out on a motorcycle. Then we also had a second prize of a rifle, and then a third prize of a knife that was handmade here in Oklahoma by Cleveland Knives. So we put that all on a raffle. We decided we're going to do 2,000 tickets. I think we sold 1,900 and something tickets. But again, to sell those tickets, if you're to try to do that many tickets in the last 2 months, would almost be impossible. There's ways to do it. You can do sporting events or some kind of like, you know, home and garden shows or gun shows or some kind of show where you could have a booth and try to sell those tickets. But the value of our ticket was $20 because we had to cover the cost of the bike, the rifle, and the knife, and then whatever else is on top of that is our gravy, right? That's what we take back into our association and use it for the veterans that are out there in Oklahoma City. You got to figure out month 2, month 3, what are you going to give away? It could be cash. I've been to runs where it was, one of the runs is called a Gator Run. Max gift was $2,000. So it makes you want to go because you want to win the $2,000. So you got to think about what's going to bring people in. Bigger the prize, probably the bigger the crowd you're going to get. Month 2, you want to figure out, has the main giveaway been solidified? At this time, you hope that you have maybe acquired 2 to 4 door prize gifts. So for our runs, what we try to do is do some door prize gifts where there is no money involved, right? So when they come in, they do their registration, they get a map, they get a ticket, a raffle ticket where they can put into a door prize, and basically they then go on the ride and enjoy the ride, okay? But they at least have one option or one ticket to win a door prize, and it might keep them there. If they see some great door prizes, it might be one of those things, because some people, they do 2 or 3 stops and then they, boop, you know, they scatter, they leave, depending on what time the run is ran. For month 2, has there been a run route designed yet? Have there been any ideas with that? Another thing to think about is, do you guys have any souvenirs that you want to sell or give away? It could be a patch, it could be a t-shirt, it could be a hat, it could be whatever. You could start working that at month 2 time to figure out, okay, do we want to have a souvenir? Do we want to have a giveaway? Lastly is what needs to be accomplished for next month's meeting, right? That way each of the members can have a idea of what they need to possibly achieve within the group to make things happen. So that's month 2. All right, month 3. So again, this is a 12-month program, and again, you can speed all this up if you're like 6 months behind, right? You're just gonna have to speed all this up. So again, the objective right by this point is you should already have the main giveaway or the raffle item that you're doing should be solidified at this time, because that allows you to buy raffle tickets and to be able to sell those raffle tickets. Remember, if you have a longer period of time to sell something, it's a lot easier to do it than all of a sudden you're jumping through hoops trying to sell X amount of tickets. Also, what should be at this time is you should have about 2 to 4 door prizes. Remember, door prizes, depending on what your organization is, you can go out to these companies like Lowe's, Home Depot, Harbor Freight, and they have donation programs already in place. One time I went to Cowboy Chicken, and the guy gave me some free chicken dinners. So that worked out really well, right? Because I mean, I could give those out as a door prize with maybe like, let's say a Starbucks card or a Amazon card that we get for free, right? So you bundle that up and that's a door prize. So at this time you should have hopefully 2 to 4 of those items. Next thing is you want to follow up with all the members, right? All the committee members that are part of your team and see where they're at. See if they've even done anything. Next thing you want to do is, this time frame is figure out, okay, if we're having a raffle, we got to figure out the raffle tickets, what's going to be on it. Next thing you want to start doing is, if you haven't got the route planned, you need to really start figuring this out. The reason why is through time, road construction can start happening. You might need to reroute your route. A lot of times I like to do a run where you have a place to eat. So you got to think about that. If it's at a bar and you're stopping at a bar, do they have the staff to support 100 bikes? Or could it be at a restaurant where they have a bar, but you know that they can push the food out quickly? So that's something to think about on your run routes. And then lastly, are you going to do t-shirts, or are you going to do poker chip or any of that? So those need to be designed probably around by this time now, right? Because you got to order them, you got to get them, you got to figure out if you're going to sell them, and so forth. So now we're in month 4, and month 4 we're getting closer, right? Basically month 4 we're going to solidify the date for the run. So the flyer, if it has not been made at this time, can be made and finished and put together. With that, you've got to know what your giveaway is going to be, right? Is it going to be a $2,000 giveaway for high hand? Is it going to be a raffle? Because you're going to make the flyer that you're putting out digitally or physically, however, you know, in all the biker joints that you go to or motorcycle places, so they can post that, right? You want your flyer to be above everybody else's, and you want to have a little bit of flash with it. So you got to have those things figured out. You got to have it figured out if you're going to do a raffle, poker chip run. And one of those things on there too also to think about is if you're doing a late run, can it be your end stop at a casino? That way maybe you can solidify some rooms. You can get 20 rooms blocked off a lot of times with casinos as long as it's in advance. So typically we do our runs, the last couple of years we've tried to stop at a casino so people can, drink a little bit, play little games after the run is over with, and they have a place to stay. So there's some things to put in there. So anyways, all of that information has to go to a flyer and readable where people know what the date's going to be, where it's probably going to start, where it's probably going to end, what the fee is to come in and out, right? So typically most runs are $15 to $20. And most people are willing to give that out because they're possibly going to win something at the very end also, right? And they're there to support whatever organization they're doing the poker run for. It could be for someone who has just passed, right? A family needs help. Maybe a down biker went down and it's for a run for a person who has passed, in a motorcycle accident. Or maybe it's a run for kids, right? It's a toy run. So all those things are important. It depends on how the run is designed and what the purpose is for. At month 4, again, you want to get with your members, make sure they're all on track. The route should be somewhat figured out by now, at least idea of where you're going to be stopping at. And then, like I said, the dates should be solidified. That way you can start to get the flyer done by month 4 or have it ready by month 5. All right, month 5. So we're 7 months out. It's coming up. The objective for this is to have all the stops for the run have been solidified. Your main giveaway tickets, you should hopefully have the raffle tickets already and you start selling them and try to keep track of those. It's kind of important to know what's coming in and out, right? By this time also, you should hopefully have about 5 to 7 door prizes. Remember, you can, if you're doing an auction in your run, you could have some of those as an auction item and a door prize. Or you can just have them as door prizes, depending how long you want your run to be. At this time, if your committee members aren't working out that well, you maybe need to see if you can get other volunteers to help out. But again, you want to get the committee members, figure out where we're all at, where everyone's doing. A lot of times these runs are all volunteered based. So, people have lives. It happens. At this point, you should start thinking about, again, souvenirs or a shirt or something of the sort so you can start really solidifying the prices on that and how you're going to come up with the money to buy all that stuff. There are options too if you have a website that you can do pre-orders, right? You could have a shirt design with a poker chip and have a pre-order. Pre-orders work well because there's no money out of the pocket. You just have people order their stuff. It goes into this bucket. And then once that order is done or a date is done with it, you buy it. And when they show up, they pick it up. Simple as that. That's really about month 5. So month 6, things should be getting solidified. You should be getting down to where there's not much really to do except get donations and figure a couple more things out. Everything should be kind of falling in place at this time. Again, you should already have the raffle ticket with whatever you're doing. If you're doing raffle tickets, the raffle ticket's a big thing. I'm trying to solidify this is that you want to try to sell all of your raffle tickets. That's the idea, right? The raffle ticket is for 2 purposes. 1, to pay for the item that you're raffling. And then 2, whatever is on top of what you've already, for example, let's say you do a P365 SIG or something, and that costs $450. You get a deal on it, and if you sold every single ticket, you'd only get 1,000. So that's the idea, right? You want the $550 to be the gravy, and that goes back into the account for whatever purpose it has. At this time, run stop the route should be planned. It should be figured out. It should already have been done. Someone should have already ran it, gotten back to see if there's any kind of emergency issues or loose gravel or any incidences that could happen on the run. Again, you want people to have a great time. You don't want to have people figuring out, they have to go in these backwoods to get to the spot. So think about those things in your stops. Unless they're like a place where everyone knows of, then that's going to be one thing, right? But if it's something brand new that people don't really know and they don't really know how to get to, just make sure that the route is correct to get there. Again, you want to follow up with the committee members, see where everyone's at. At this time, you should have 7 to 10 door prizes, whatever those might be. If you have you're doing a pre-order for a shirt, poker chip, or something of the sort, you might want to have that set up now. You're at 6 months prior, right? So you want to stop your pre-orders probably a month and a half before the run itself. And if you do have raffle tickets, you want someone to control those raffle tickets. You want to see, hey, how many have we sold so far? So it kind of gives the group an idea of how much more they have to sell. So at that, we would be about month 6. All right, so we're at month 7 now. We're getting close. Things are starting to, I bet at this point, people are starting to talk about the run. Something to think about too, there are like a lot of run magazines, run websites. If you have a public relations person of any sort, or is really good with the internet, it might be something to really start pushing through all of the biker sites that are out there for your state. And sometimes even national. If you have like a national organization where you can push it nationally, that you have other states that can come riding in, man, do it. Again, if your ride is a sanctioned event for your organization and you get, points for that, that might be something where, you want to push it out as a sanctioned event because people will come out of state for your run. So month 7, again, everything should be kind of, riding in there, man. It should be pretty smooth at this point. At this time, you hope you have volunteers out there going to find these door prizes of 9 to 12 items. It could be some of your members that even handcraft things. So that could be door prizes also. Again, the raffle ticket, if you're doing a raffle, you want to figure out how many raffle tickets you have already sold. The other thing you want to do is make sure that your design flyer that you have is hitting the social media marketing thing out there for that, right? Meaning that you want to be on your Facebooks and your Instagrams and all that, right? I wish it was an age where you could just go to your favorite bike shop and see the flyer and I'll go to that. But now it's all digital. A lot of it's more digital. You need to also do the brick and mortars because those are important too. A lot of people will stop by, pick up a little flyer and go, okay, yeah, I might check this out. The other thing too is with paper flyers, sometimes I'll make little small ones. And when I'm going to other rides out there, I will hand them to people to come check us out and talk about what we're doing. Again, it's one of those things that gets you out of your comfort level, but if you want max participation, you got to do those things to get max participation to your run. So that's one of those things to think about, right? Yeah, you can have this 8x11 flyer, but you're gonna hand that to somebody. If you can make a smaller one where you cut it in half, 8x11 and a half, or even in 4s, you can hand that out pretty easy. And they never know. They might be in their vest or something. They pick it out oh, check this out. I've got this ride. I forgot completely about it. So those are just some things to think about. You want to maybe start thinking about free advertising out there. Depending on your organization, you might be able to get on the radio, right? On a 5-minute blurb on a morning show. There might be also an opportunity to do some, YouTubing too, right? Where you sell the run, post it on your social media pages. Even do, even do TikTok or something like that. Where hey, this ride's coming along. Please, everyone come on out, check us out. We've got these great prizes, such and such. And then the other thing to think about too is really push among your members selling those tickets. It's not just on the committee to sell a raffle ticket. It's on all members of your organization to try to sell those. It could be even for car clubs. It doesn't really matter what this is for. Car clubs have poker runs and so forth on also. So at this time too, in month 7, you want to contact all of the stops that you're going to and just, confirm that you're still good for the dates to show up there, right? They're not going out of business. If it's a food joint, one of the stops, you want to make sure that, hey, you think you're still going to have the staff to support this chicken joint or wherever you're stopping at. Most runs are on a Saturday, so most places are hopping pretty good. So that's the other thing, you want to kind of figure out if you're stopping at a place for food, are they hopping at the same time with just regular customers? Will they support more people to come in for your run? It's just something to think about with that. Last year we did basically a night run where the first stop was registration stop, second stop was a food stop because by the time you got there it was around 5 o'clock. And that was at a place called the Cajun Corner here in Oklahoma City. They're quick and fast, they get the food out quick. They have a bar. They have a wall full of beer. So you just go pick whatever beer you want, and then you pay before you leave. So that's why we used that stop last year because it's just quick, fast, and very easy. The second and third stops were basically bar stops, but the last bar stop, they were willing to do a pork sandwich with, I think, beans, potato salad because Our last stop was at a casino, and by the time people got there, which was around 10-ish, all the food is basically stopped at that casino. It's a nice casino, it's just they don't have an all-night, all-you-can-eat food place over there, right? So we designed the run where people could have possibly 2 places to eat. If they're feeling a little hungry, snacks, maybe had a couple too many. So it's just something to think about. A lot of people, I think about, going to these bars, bar hopping, but people get hungry and they want a little snack here and there. So it's just something to think about. You can design your run around food places also that can support a big group of people. So again, you want to contact all your run stops. Make sure nothing has changed at this time. All right. We're at month 8. We're getting close. If you started your poker run 4 months prior, because sometimes it happens, you got to take in consideration all that I've talked about already. And that means you really got to jump through some hoops, have people who are committed to your run or your idea to get things really laid out quick and fast and get those items coming in. So month 8, I call that the roadmap. Again, the objective should be that your social media is working. People are talking about it or at least looking at it. You can look at your analytics for that. Again, you want to figure out how many raffle tickets you sold. Where are you at with that? Because you only got 4 months to go. At this time too, your door prizes, you should have about 11 to 15 door prizes. Okay, 3 to 4 door prizes a month is not that hard of a task as long as you have people doing it and helping out. Again, I always have follow up on committee members, see where they're all at. Big thing for month 8 would be, again, continue looking for free advertising, social media, maybe push in different areas. Make sure you have people going to their favorite bike spot, and make sure that they're advertising, your run. That's the big thing, right? You have to sell the run. You can't just put a piece of paper out there and go, God, I hope everyone shows up. You want to start, advertising in your bike shop. Other local runs, go to other runs too, right? If you go to other people's runs, typically they feel, not to say guilty, but typically they might come to your run. You want to go to the run stops. Make sure that there's flyers. If you're able to put flyers up, put your flyer up there. Anywhere else that you might post them. Work areas. A lot of work areas would be willing, depending on what your run is about, put a flyer up. This is the point 2 of month 8, is to figure out, is there any other things that are needed to be purchased? If you're going to do poker chips, poker chips, you can get over the line. Those are pretty easy. Those get done in about 2 weeks. T-shirts, there's lag time with t-shirts. Happened to us this year where, we were promised to have all these shirts done, but we only got some of them done. And I thought we had given them ample time to get it done. So, stuff happens. What you're trying to do at month 8 is also try to figure out, is there anything that we're missing before the run so we don't look like idiots? Again, if you're doing pre-orders online, you want to continue your pre-orders for your shirt. Try to advertise that. Hey, we got this shirt poker chip patch thing, and it's, $35.99 or whatever it might be. You want to continue selling your main raffle tickets. The road map. A lot of times what we've done is design the road map through like Google Maps, and then collect that and then make a QR code so you can directly click on that QR code and it'll automatically pop your 5 stops or however many stops you're doing. And again, you want to make sure all your run stop locations are still aware that we're going to be using them as their stops. So for that's month 8. All right, so we're at month 9 now. We've got 3 months to go. The time is closing in on it. At this time, the objective would be make sure your social media advertising is working. Make sure it's out there. Make sure it's still clickable, shareable. And then also the kind of thing is think of outside the box. Is there anything that we're missing for advertising that we could do? That's not too expensive. The run routes should have been traveled and figured out if there's any problems, right? We're 3 months away, and you want to make sure that there hasn't been any kind of traffic or road construction changes. And at this time too, you hope to have at least 13 to 17 door prizes / auction items. Again, follow up with your committee members. At this time, I'm probably sending out a sit rep once a week, making sure that everybody is aware how many door prizes we got. This is the design of the poker chip. This is the design of a shirt. This is the design of this. Yes, we've paid for the one raffle item. We still have to pay for whatever else. So those are the things I'm continually, I'd send out emails to the committee members saying, okay, hey, this is where we're at. This is what we still need to get done. Again, you want to look for possible free advertising if it's all possible. You want to continually advertise in your local community. That's the bike shops, local runs, run stops. You also kind of want to figure out how close are you to purchasing all of the items needed for your raffle or your giveaway. And at this point, you might want to contact your stops and say, hey, is everything still good to go? This leads us into month 10. So month 10, we're at pre-finish line, man. I mean, we're almost there. Now it's starting to get kind of a little hectic. If you're doing, let's say, trophies for a run, let's say you're doing a car show, you want to make sure that your trophies are all done for that, right? You don't want to be planning that out 2 weeks prior because it ain't going to happen. For this month 10, I call it the run pre-finished. Your social media should be working. Main giveaway tickets should have been sold. You hope that all of them have been sold or a good quantity of them have been sold. And at this time too, you also, hopefully you have about 20 door prizes that you're going to be handing out. Again, follow up with your committee members. Continue advertising the run, even heavier if you can. You want to start making sure people are sharing your run. If you can, make it shareable. So everybody is sharing that run and getting more excited about it. You also want to make sure, again, go by your local bike shops, your local bars, your local run stops, and make sure your flyer's still up. A lot of times people will rip them off, put a different flyer up. If you got little handheld flyers, at a bike shop, make sure that they're still there. You want to stop by and, talk with the owners and say, hey, has anybody been talking about our run? The other thing you want to do is continue your pre-orders. If you're doing like shirt, t-shirt, poker chip pre-orders, get those still going. Because you're about to be finished with all of that. And at this time, your roadmap, flyer, QR code, whatever it might be, better be it should be solidified. You should have somebody rerun that route. Start A to start E. Whatever the stops you have, make sure they run it like you would run the run to see if there's any kind of hiccups along that way. The other thing with this too, you're at month 10, as you're going to those stops, making sure the route is still good, is, talk with the owners, make sure, hey, are we still on the books? I'm sure they're gonna say yes. We're getting close, like, yep. Even if the bartender's only there, just say, hey, are you planning on being here in 2 months? And, has your boss been talking about this? And, yada, yada. Just kind of get the lay of the land. It's happened in the past on a poker run before is that, we had committee members that said, oh yeah, we stopped at this bar, no problem, man, we're all good to go. And then we actually got there and they didn't even have a clue we were coming. So you got to make sure, you keep your committee members so they're telling you, what's really going on. Because if they didn't go to the stop, no big deal. I'll go to the stop, right? I mean, you're just making sure that they know you're coming with 50 to 100 bikes, right? Or 100 to 200 bikes. If it's a small bar and all of a sudden they get bamboozled with 100 people, there's not enough staff, it's going to suck. People will go, well, that route sucked, or that run sucked, I'm not going to do that next year. So that's what you're trying to eliminate. So with that, month 10, 2 months away, and we're almost there. 11, we're doing dry runs. We're making things, have to make sure everything's good to go. We're close to go time, right? We're a month away. Everything for this run should have been accomplished by month 11. The only thing you're kind of worried about are just the minor details that need to be accomplished. That's where you're getting with your committee members and really sitting down going, hey, have we missed anything? Maybe have a dinner with them. Maybe have an outing and go, hey, have we missed anything at all along the way? Has everything been thought of? Because there's always going to be something that probably hasn't been thought of. You want to see where your main ticket sales are at, like the raffle tickets. Where are you at? You got 1 month away, right? So maybe there's a gun show coming up where, you could pop in and do a gun show at the last minute and try to sell the rest of your tickets, right? Those are some of the things to think about. You don't want to be stuck. If you have 2,000 tickets, you don't want to be stuck with 1,000 of them, right? You want those sold because that money is your gravy money that goes back into the organization that you're doing this for. Again, you want to follow up with your committee members, make sure everything's been solidified with them. Obtain 2 to 4 more door prizes. At this time, you should have about 25 door prizes. It could be used for auctions, door prizes, depending on how you're going to do your run. Continue. At this time, man, you're hitting this heavy, man. You want to advertise this thing super heavy. You want to go to any other runs that might be running around out there that you could, join along. Any biker establishments that sell, leather goods, Harley Davidson shops, Indian shops, who cares? Yamaha shops, BMW shops, you don't really care. You just want people to show up, spend a little money and have a good time. At this time too, you want to see if possibly, if you do have the opportunity to do some advertising on radio or TV to hopefully get that spot, because you're about a month away. You want people to get pumped. You want people to come on out and have a great time. You want to go by your biker shops and every place else that you've put your flyers at to make sure they still have your flyers up. Is there any last things that need to be purchased? Is there any, if you haven't gotten the poker chip, I don't want to buy that poker chip. You're only a month away. You want to make sure those things are there. If you've advertised them on a flyer, you want to make sure you have them. If you go to a poker run and you're expecting something and you don't get that, you're probably not going to, the person's probably not going to want to come back. Again, your roadmap flyer should be designed. Again, you want to have someone one last time run the route, and you want to make sure that road construction, there is none. If there is, you got to be aware of what it is, because you're going to have to explain that at your beginning of your run. You want to establish any changes, because maybe something's happened where that bar or that place, they went out of business. So now you're jumping through hoops. This is the part where you're jumping through hoops to figure out, how do we make this happen and where are we going to make it happen at? You want to make sure too, at each of these stops, are they going to have enough staff on hand to service the clientele, right? You want to make sure maybe you're doing a giveaway where if someone picks a special card out of the poker hand, they get that door gift or whatever. Something to consider if everyone's on bikes, will it fit in a saddlebag or will it fit in something that they can carry, right? Or you can take it to the end and they can get it at the end, something of the sort. Last thing now too, you're a month away. It's harder to figure out weather, but let's just say, you've had some bad weather come in, like a tornado or hurricane where, it takes out a city, and I hate to say that these days, but it's crazy. But you want to think about weather changes. If you have massive weather come in, is there another possibility to change the date at the last minute? Just some things to think about before go time. All right, we're at month 12 and it's go time. I call 12 month go time because that's actually usually when the run's going to happen, for one. But two, you have a couple weeks between month 11 and 12 where you're basically trying to get everything together and organized and so forth. Have I been to runs that weren't organized at all? Yep. Have I done runs myself in the past where it wasn't organized? Yep. And that's the reason why I came up with this, where try to help others out there to try to hopefully get organized enough to have a good run. Okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if people go, man, that was really laid out well. Like, wow. They had great auction items, man. Or they had great door prizes. I mean, I only had one ticket, but hell, I could have won whatever that was. Or, man, their raffle was amazing. Holy cow, they were raffling a bike, this badass knife, this badass rifle. So those are things to think about. I know that's way in advance, but this is what Go Time's about. Everything for the run should have been accomplished, and the run should be ready to go. I break mine out for the Go Time differently because I try to break it out to where everything has a point, right? So the beginning point, you should have everybody show up 2 to 3 hours early if all possible. You want to brief all your members, committee members, of what's about to happen and how we're going to do it. If you're the chair. If you're doing a poker run or dice run, whatever, you want to hand those out, right? If you have 5 stops, you want to hand those out to your 5-stop people. You kind of want to explain how the game is going to run. Most places give you like a game card of some sort, and you got to explain to the person who's actually making the game happen for them what they write down in their game card. You also kind of want to find out if you have a road captain, right, for this run. Some runs we'll have a beginning group go out. But then I also know who my tail gunner is going to be at the very end, right? I got to know who's coming in at the very end so I can start the proceedings at the actual event. Let's just say you have a sanctioned event. You want to make sure you have your laptop or sign-in thing that you use for your sanctioned event members. At this time, when people show up to the first stop, we do 50-50, right? So our organization gets 50% of whatever is sold at the 50-50, and the other person who wins the 50-50 gets that in their hand, right? So you want to start selling those tickets now. If you're doing door prizes, a lot of times what we'll do is sell extra door prize tickets, right? And I usually put buckets in front of each door prize, so it's not just some big bucket of tickets you're pulling out of. You're just pulling out of smaller buckets for each item. So if the person wants to win, let's say, a bottle of whiskey or something, right? And that's a door prize, but there's, a door prize of like Starbucks cards. I don't want to put my card or my raffle ticket in the Starbucks cards. I want to put my raffle ticket in the possibility of winning that whiskey, okay? So it depends on however you want to do that. You can do it many different ways. Done it where we've picked out a big bucket, you know, for door prizes and handed an Indian t-shirt to a guy who rides a Harley, right? So I figured out that maybe we should just put some Indian gear together, Harley gear, whatever gear, and then have a separate bucket for each one of those. It makes more sense for me because if I'm riding a Harley, I don't really want to wear an Indian shirt, right? And vice versa. If you haven't sold all of your raffle tickets, maybe have the raffle items there at your first stop and have someone selling those tickets. The hype is even bigger at this moment to sell those tickets because your odds of winning, you feel, are probably better because, you know, you see what you could possibly win, right? If it's a bike for a raffle ticket, you're going to sell more tickets at your first stop for sure. If you have extra souvenirs like t-shirts, patches, poker chips, you want to put those on a spot somewhere at your first event, right? You want to sell those also. You don't want to be stuck with a whole bunch of materials. Typically, if we do a t-shirt, we'll do it so that we can sell that t-shirt the following year and the next following year and so forth, right? So every year has a new shirt, but you still have the availability to sell that shirt in the next year if you're stuck with some, right? It doesn't have the year on it. It just has that design on it. And last thing, you should have some road maps. So typically what we like to do is have a road map on one side of the piece of paper and on the other side of that paper have their game card. So they always have the map and they're always going to have their game card. The run point number one. So your first stop, this is before, those are the things that you should already have set up before the day of, right? So for each point, for your person that's going to go out to that point, they need to meet up with the establishment. They should already know that they're coming for that day. Probably put a table somewhere where people know where to go to. You could be either in the front or somewhere, right? Get set up, right? You're going to set up your person who's going to each of their stops, 1, 2, 3 at least, with their dice, their cards, or whatever, and be ready to rock and roll. The end point, again, I like to have a tail gunner of some sort. So at the very end, I know who is the last person in, because people will bail out along the way. But I know that who's with my group is coming in, and I go, okay, now you're here, so now I can start. We can start the event. Okay. Typically with the end point, we like to start off with a thanks. I'm glad you guys came out to the run. We want to thank the establishments who've helped us along the way, either get a bike or a gun or whatever. And then we like to just get right into it, right? We want to start off with some door prizes. If you're doing a door prize auction, where you're trying to do some auctions, you know, auctions could be done in two different ways. You can do a silent auction where people put their name and what they want to pay, or you can do a live auction. Live auctions are fun. Live auctions can make a group laugh and have a great time. So typically what we like to do is do some door prizes and have the people come up to grab the door prizes and then change it up and then do some auction items and then go back to the door prizes and then auction items. And then at the end, if you're giving away trophies, we do the trophies. Typically the raffle giveaway is the last thing that we're going to do. And during this time, we're trying to take pictures and so forth that are allowable just to show how great the run is, right? This is kind of like the creme de la creme that you're trying to achieve, one for max dollars to bring in for donations, but also max participation of everyone having a great time, right? If you do a lot of poker runs, they start to get kind of boring, and so you kind of want to have that, depending on what you're doing the poker run for or going for, can depend on how much fun you're going to have, but, at the end is where you have all these gifts and stuff, and you want to just make your poker run, better than the last one you've ever been. And that's always my goal. I hope that this has helped, kind of a 1 to 12 month idea. All right, so this kind of concludes the 1 to 12 month preparation for a run. The last thing that I do right before a run is, hopefully, if I'm the committee chair, I like to obtain all the door prizes. I like to organize them. If you're doing door prizes or auction items, I typically like to put a list together for each of those items. And it could be something as simple as this, where you describe a basket you put together or someone's put together for you, and you describe what's in the basket, right? And that sometimes will give more appeal to somebody wanting to either bid on something that's an auction item, or to buy more, let's say, door prize tickets, right? So they put it in that bucket. So typically I try to organize all of the items before I even go. If you're doing a run where you're starting at one point and going to the second point, it's important to kind of do that, because if you're bidding, if you put something into a door prize bucket, right? And let's say the bucket doesn't have any label on it, right? But you know that bucket goes with that, let's say, t-shirt. You want to make sure to keep certain items together. It's more of an integrity thing that, you know, if the person comes the following year and they knew that, hey man, this is a great organization, they keep shit, you know, they keep everything straight, that they're going to come back the following year, right? So for me, I've always tried to be very organized, try to have descriptions for the items that either when they're going to auction off on. For example, let's say it's a cigar humidor, right? And you might bid more because it's made out of Purple Heart or a certain type of wood, right? Because maybe you're a wood guy and you know much about that wood, right? So you might bid on something like that, right? A little bit more. But one of the last things I do that for one, for the door prize auction items. But the other thing I do is I put a go time checklist together. And with that, I write a bunch of notes. For example, I'm just going to go over my go time checklist. Maybe this might help you out. So my go time checklist, I basically put in there sign in items, show up early. First thing I've talked about already is having the committee members meet up for a brief. I have my waivers already set up. If you think you are going to have 50 bikes, plan on 100 waivers. If you think you're going to have 100 bikes, plan on 200 waivers. You'd be surprised that social media and those things and just word of mouth can bring in more people than you thought you were going to bring in. Go over committee members, meet for their first initial brief. Hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to set it up. And these are my ideas. And let's just, boom, go, right? So you're going to have your registration table. It's going to have your waivers. It's going to have your map sheet. It's going to have your game card. And I also typically put one door prize ticket in there. If it's a run where they have to have a sticker, have the sticker with it. The other thing that we lay out, typically like try to do trophies, gives people a good laugh. And I put trophies on a separate table that they could possibly win. You want to make sure you have pens so people can fill out the registration form. You got to want to make sure you have your money there. Your cashier is there. If you're using Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, or whatever, you got to have those QR codes there also. If you're doing a poker chip run or let's say a dice run or something, I typically have that table in a different area because you want people to get through the registration area, at least for me, and have them walk around by auction items and door prizes away from registration that they have to go to get their poker chip done or whatever game you're playing. Basically, you want to treat it like a grocery store. You know, why is the milk always in the back? Well, you have to pass all the other crap to get to the milk. So that's basically how I set up my layout for a poker run. If you're having vendors or some kind of, you know, people trying to sell their goods, you want to have them set up, okay? And then if you're doing some kind of swipe-in thing for your sanctioned event for whatever organization you're with, you want to make sure that's in a certain location. And then maybe have a little music. Right? Bring a speaker. If it's in a hall that doesn't have no music, let's say you're starting at a bar, it's probably going to have music, right? But if you're staying like in a VFW or American Legion or something of the sort, they might not have music there for you. So that's just you getting to the point of like setting it up, right? That is my list of everything that I put together to set up as I show up. If the run is starting at, let's say 10, I'm going to show up probably at 7. To do all this, get this layout, okay? I like to also have everything laid out where you have your door prizes shown and your auction items shown. Maybe you don't do auction items, maybe it's just door prizes. Or you have at least your big raffle thing, your giveaway that you're giving away, okay? You want that there because you want people to go, man, I want to win that. Or I'd like to possibly, you know, be at the very end to see who wins that or whatever. The idea is to keep people engaged for the whole run to be at the end. So this last run, we did a poker chip run, right? So I had to make sure that the poker chip tables at every stop had poker chips, red, white, and blue. Had a bag that they can pick out of, right? Had a pens or markers or pens or stamps so they could stamp their game card. The other thing we had to buy and get was raffle tickets for 50-50. You need a bucket. Right? You need some kind of bucket to put the 50-50 tickets in. I know it sounds minuscule to have all these items written down, but it's just to keep track to make sure that everything runs smoothly. Door prizes. I have 4 door prizes: door prize items, door prize buckets, and then an info sheet like I was showing earlier. Merchandise. If you're selling merchandise, you want your merchandise area to be there for your t-shirts, your poker chips, or any other merch that you might be selling. Raffle tickets. If you have raffle tickets still for sale and you have the item there with you, let's say it's a rifle or whatever it might be, have it displayed and have a person selling raffle tickets. Maybe have the raffle ticket booth area before you get to the registration area. They have to make them pass the raffle area to buy that ticket first before they even do the run. If you're doing auction items, make sure you have those auction items out, right? Same thing goes with the door prize items. You want to have them out. You want people to see what you're giving away or possibly doing auctioning for. Let's say you're doing a live auction, a silent auction. Have your silent auction sheet right by that auction item, and have members, going around talking to new riders that you've never seen, and say, hey, we've got some silent auction items over here. We got some auction items over here. Whatever that is. If you have the availability to, share your organization, maybe have a screen up and have, some video going of some funny moments that's happened, in the years. Make sure that each stop has its items, right? Let's say you're having a bike dropped off, because that's your raffle item, and you want to organize that the Indian dealership or Harley dealership can drop off that bike and pick it back up. What I also like to do is get volunteers to keep people feet on the fires and make sure that they're going to be there for you, right? For example, let's say I have a registration table. I want to know who my members are going to be to run the registration table, so I don't have to worry about that, right? If I'm the committee chair, I'm trying to make sure everything is running smoothly. Who's running your poker chip game or your poker game or whatever dice game, right? Who's running those at each stop? You want those people listed. So I have those listed on my Go checklist. 50-50. Who can help with 50-50? So what I'm trying to get at is there's many people that you need to run your poker run, right? And so what I like to try to do is have all my volunteers like at month 12 or month 11, so I don't have to figure this out at the last minute, right? I don't have to do 5 items because I'm the only one there. And then last but not least for the Go checklist for me is who's going to be my last man out? Because my last man out is going to be my last man in at the last stop. And he's going to tell me, hey man, everybody's in. Everybody who's going to be in is in. So that helps me organize for the run of the day. And I even break out my checklist for who's going to be at stop 2, stop 3, stop 4, stop 5. If you're going to do a live auction, make sure your auctioneer is going to show up, right? Well, let's say he doesn't show up. Now you're going to have a member of yours figure out how they're going to auction off, these items that you have for auctioning at the highest amount that they can possibly obtain, right? That's the idea with an auction. You're just trying to max out your amount of money coming in off of the items that you have there. And last but not least with all this is that the whole idea of having a checklist is making sure you don't forget anything, that it runs smoothly, and if you did forget something, that it's just a minor hiccup in the whole ordeal. I have been to a run where one person or one member thought that another member was going to bring registration forms. And that wasn't the case. So luckily, we had registration forms from the year prior. We had a lot of them. That all we had to do is cross out the date, and we just, adjusted the date on it, right? Registration forms are important because they can be used for many things. One, there's liability for you and your group, but 2, you can be used for, let's say you're giving out a trophy for the oldest bike. You want to find out what year their bike is, right? Maybe you want to, some people don't like this, but find out who the oldest member is, right? That's riding. Maybe you're making a trophy for them, right? The oldest biker award. So there's things that, you can do with registration forms that allow you to give other prizes out. And also have the waiver portion there also. And so with all that, I hope this has helped you guys, whoever's doing their run. Maybe they're doing a run for the first time. When I did runs probably 5 or 6 years ago, I've always been to runs, and you go to them and you just kind of, go through the motions. But when you're having to run the run, It's a big ordeal, right? Let's say you're doing a run in the morning. You know, do you want to have breakfast? If you're doing a run at night, you got to make sure there's food, right? The biggest thing is food and drinks, right? And camaraderie and riding and a great route. The route could, you know, there's other things too. The route doesn't have to be the best. But if the stops are really great, then that's a good thing too, right? So always think about safety too, and think about how you're going to do your safety things with all that. And so with that, I hope this has helped you obtain a better idea of how to do a run and organizing one for your future rides.